He wakes before the sun, not because he is disciplined, but because sleep no longer holds him. There is a hollow space inside his chest. Not pain, not sadness, something quieter, more dangerous, a lack of purpose. He has tried to name it: failure, burnout, confusion, but none of those words stay. In ancient Japan, warriors feared silence more than battle, because silence reveals what distraction hides. And what this man hears in the silence is unsettling. No enemy, no direction, no clear path forward. Modern psychology would call this a loss of meaning. Stoics would call it a necessary breaking. Zen masters would call it the beginning of training. Because absence is never random. When a warrior is not yet ready for power, the ancient system removes his certainty first. Purpose is not given to the unprepared. It is withheld. This story is not about motivation. It is about transformation, about a man who believes he is lost and slowly realizes he is being shaped. Through discipline without applause, through fear without explanation, through silence that sharpens the spirit. This is the unseen phase of mastery, the phase no one celebrates, the phase that forges presence. If you feel purposeless, this is not a flaw in your design, it is training. He rises before dawn. The floorboards creak beneath bare feet, a small protest to his habitual motion. Outside, the wind presses against the papered shoji, bending its thin frame like a hesitant bow. In the half-light, he performs each movement with precision, washing, stretching, arranging, rituals unchanged, yet something within him remains hollow, as though the very essence of these acts is missing. This is the first lesson the ancient system imposes: form without meaning. In the old texts, an empty scabbard represented readiness without permission to draw the blade. It is the paradox of power restrained by wisdom. And today, the warrior feels that restraint deep within his bones. Every muscle knows its purpose, yet the mind, the heart, the spirit remain unclaimed. Modern psychology calls this an identity fracture. When external markers of success are absent, the mind struggles to maintain cohesion. Ego flails in search of validation. The warrior believes he is failing because the world offers no reward, no applause. But what he perceives as punishment is, in truth, calibration. A shadow moves across the tatami. The mentor appears, not with fanfare, not with instruction, but as quiet observation. He does not speak. He watches the warrior wrestle with invisible weights: impatience, restlessness, frustration. In Stoic terms, the mentor is teaching without interference. Presence is forged not through intervention, but through resistance to distraction. Hours pass. The warrior's hands work tirelessly, sweeping floors, sharpening blades, folding cloths. Yet each task is a mirror of emptiness. In Zen philosophy, this is the crucible. One acts not for result, not for recognition, but for the act itself. The body becomes disciplined. The mind begins to tremble under stillness. Fear surfaces, not fear of death, but fear of irrelevance, fear of insignificance. It is in this tension that the first teaching emerges. Silence is a teacher more profound than instruction. The absence of purpose, the withholding of clarity, is deliberate. The ancient system does not hurry. It does not beg the student to understand. Mastery cannot be rushed, and the ego cannot be appeased with comfort. He sits in meditation, eyes half closed. Each breath is measured. Each exhale carries the weight of questions unanswered. Modern neuroscience confirms what ancient masters always understood. The brain is uncomfortable with ambiguity. It seeks certainty, craving narrative and reward. Yet the true transformation occurs within the tension, in the mind's resistance to closure. Hours stretch into days. The warrior feels the gnawing ache of emptiness. Every fiber of his being asks, "Why am I here? What is my purpose?" And yet, no answer comes. The mentor remains in the corner, a silent witness. The lesson is clear. Strength is not proven through action, but through restraint. Presence forms in the void left by certainty. Evening falls. The wind sharpens, carrying the scent of distant pine. He rises, his scabbard empty, his posture precise. And though he feels lost, he begins to notice something subtle. His mind, once scattered, is focusing. His breath, once shallow, deepens. He is learning patience. He is learning to endure the weight of silence. The first step toward mastery is not movement. It is stillness, not action, but recognition of absence. And in that absence, a quiet transformation begins. The scabbard remains empty, but the warrior's spirit begins to awaken. Soon silence will grow heavier, demanding more than endurance. It will demand surrender. The days blend into one another. Light spills over the mountains, golden yet fleeting, only to be swallowed again by dusk. The warrior continues his routines, folding cloths with meticulous care, polishing the wooden floor until it gleams, practicing kata without audience, without applause. The actions themselves are not new. What is new is the consciousness he brings. Each movement is weighed with attention, each breath measured with intent. The emptiness that once haunted him begins to feel less like punishment and more like a mirror. In this reflection, he confronts his ego, its demands, its impatience, its endless hunger for recognition. The mentor watches silently, a presence felt rather than seen. In Stoic philosophy, this is the essential tension. The external world may offer nothing, but the internal world can be honed with deliberate discipline. True strength does not require validation. The mind resists, it whispers, "You are wasting your time." Yet every act repeated with care begins to reshape his perception. The psychological principle is ancient, though science now confirms it. Repetition builds neural pathways. Habits create identity. The warrior is not simply moving through tasks. He is constructing a self capable of withstanding uncertainty. Night falls, and the tatami glows in dim lantern light. The silence is no longer merely absence. It has weight, a pressure that tests his composure. He sits cross-legged, hands resting on knees, eyes closed. The fear of purposelessness surfaces again, sharper than before. And he feels it, the subtle tension in his chest, the tiny tremor in his hands, the shadow of doubt across his mind. It is here that the first seed of insight takes root. Discipline, he realizes, is not a tool for achieving goals. It is the path through which presence manifests. The empty scabbard is not a symbol of deficiency, but of readiness. Power exists not in outward action, but in the quiet mastery of oneself. The mentor's silence has been a crucible, the warrior's struggle, a forge. The night deepens. Stars emerge, faint but persistent, indifferent to human turmoil. He exhales, long and deliberate, feeling the weight of every unasked question settle into his chest. Presence grows in the gaps left by certainty. Fear transforms from a tyrant into a teacher. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the warrior begins to sense the invisible threads of purpose forming, not from external reward, but from the integration of mind, body, and spirit. By dawn, he is not transformed in obvious ways. The scabbard remains empty, his tasks are unchanged, yet something internal has shifted. The first layer of ego has receded, leaving space for a new form of strength, steady, unshakable, and invisible. The warrior does not yet know what purpose awaits him, but he trusts the system that withheld it. And so the stage is set. The first chapter of his journey closes not with triumph, but with understanding. The empty scabbard, once a symbol of lack, is now a silent emblem of potential. Presence has begun to take root. Discipline has become a quiet companion. The silence that once tormented him now whispers the promise of awakening. Soon, that silence will deepen, becoming heavier, pressing against every corner of the mind and demanding more than patience. It will demand surrender. Days pass, indistinguishable from nights. The wind sighs through the bamboo grove outside, brushing the roof with subtle insistence. Light spills through the shoji in uneven patterns. shifting across the tatami as if time itself hesitates. The warrior moves through the motions of his life, folding cloths, sharpening blades, practicing kata, but now each act feels heavier, as though gravity itself has joined the silence. This is not the absence of purpose. It is the presence of waiting. In Zen philosophy, silence is not emptiness, it is pressure. It presses against the mind, insisting that the student confront what lies beneath habit, beneath ego, beneath the comfort of distraction. Modern neuroscience confirms this tension. The brain resists ambiguity, craving clarity, narrative, and reward. Yet the true transformation occurs precisely within the discomfort, in the friction of unresolved questions. Fear emerges in new forms. It is no longer fear of failing a task or losing a battle. It is fear of insignificance, the quiet terror that life may pass without mark or meaning. Each breath, each movement, is accompanied by the gnawing sense that the world does not notice, that no purpose validates effort. And still the warrior perseveres, not from hope, but from the unseen discipline he has begun to cultivate. The mentor steps forward at last, his presence calm but commanding. He does not offer instruction or explanation. Instead, he poses challenges that unsettle the warrior. Questions unasked become confrontations. Why do you seek meaning? Is your identity so fragile that it collapses without validation? The mentor's voice is a quiet hammer, striking only where resistance remains. In Stoic terms, this is deliberate provocation. The external world is indifferent, and the mind must learn endurance without comfort. The warrior struggles. His ego resists. Every fiber of his being demands narrative, explanation, and clarity. He wants a map, a signpost, a reason to continue. Yet the ancient system offers none. Instead, it demands alignment. Discipline is no longer a performance. It is a structure of internal order. Strength becomes invisible, measured not by achievement, but by composure in uncertainty. Hours stretch into days. The silence presses harder. The weight is palpable, a slow, continuous force that tests every mental boundary. He notices small changes. His breath deepens, controlled not by effort but by attentiveness. His movements become precise, economical. Thoughts no longer scatter like leaves in the wind. They settle, forming pathways through the mind's chaos. This is the paradox of the system. It offers no guidance, yet shapes the warrior more efficiently than instruction ever could. In quiet moments, the warrior glimpses a subtle insight. Purpose is not a destination or a goal. It is a byproduct of presence. Discipline shifts from outward action to inward alignment. The ego, which once demanded applause, now begins to dissolve under the weight of unacknowledged effort. Strength becomes quiet. It no longer requires witness, the empty scabbard of the first chapter has now evolved. The weapon remains sheathed, but the warrior's spirit grows sharp, honed by silence and tension. Evening arrives, and with it the first real clarity of understanding. The pressure of silence has not been an obstacle, it has been a crucible. The fear of insignificance has not defeated him, it has refined him. And as he closes his eyes, breathing in the faint scent of pine and ink, the warrior senses the first shimmer of transformation beneath the weight. The mind learns endurance, the spirit learns presence, and the heart begins to release the need for validation. Soon the warrior will step onto the path without markers, where fear becomes guidance and presence becomes the only compass. The days that follow are quieter yet heavier. Each movement of the warrior carries intention sharper than steel. His hands, once restless, now fold, sweep, and strike with a deliberation that borders on meditation. The silence around him no longer feels empty. It is an invisible pressure molding him, shaping him from the inside out. Every footfall on the tatami, every breath, every subtle shift in posture is a dialogue with this quiet force. Fear remains, but it has changed its form. It no longer paralyzes. Instead, it becomes a teacher. Fear of insignificance is transformed into an internal compass, guiding attention inward, demanding clarity, demanding presence. The mentor remains nearby, but his role is no longer active instruction. He's a quiet witness to the transformation. In his silence, the warrior learns that guidance is not always verbal. Sometimes, the mere observation of another who has mastered presence is enough to catalyze awakening. The psychological process is subtle. Modern research shows that the mind strengthens in response to controlled discomfort. The warrior experiences this firsthand. The tension, the lack of answers, the absence of reward, all of it rewires his perception of purpose. Where the ego once demanded validation, now the mind recognizes its own agency. Discipline is internalized, no longer a series of external actions, but a state of being. The faint rustle of leaves outside mirrors the quiet stirrings of the warrior's mind. He sits, eyes half closed, letting the weight of the day settle. He begins to notice the shifts, awareness in each gesture, steadiness in each thought, presence in every inhale. Alignment becomes a tangible sensation. It is no longer a concept, no longer a lesson from a book or a mentor. It is lived, immediate, undeniable. The mentor speaks only once during these days, in a voice calm, deliberate, carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. You will not be rewarded for effort. You will be rewarded for alignment. The world may not notice, but your spirit will. Strength does not need applause. These words linger not as instruction, but as revelation. They echo in the spaces where silence presses hardest, offering clarity not by filling the void, but by illuminating it. The warrior's fear continues to ebb and flow, yet each time it rises, he greets it without resistance. In the tension of silence, he begins to perceive a subtle rhythm, the cadence of transformation itself. Every day the weight grows heavier, and yet, paradoxically, he feels lighter. The ego, which once cried for certainty, is quieting. Presence begins to dominate awareness, forming a quiet mastery that is unseen but unmistakable in its effect. By the end of this chapter, the warrior understands a profound truth. Purpose is not something to be found, demanded, or chased. It is a consequence of presence. Strength is not loud, it is invisible. Discipline is not performed for reward, it is internalized, shaping mind, body, and spirit into harmony with the path. The silence that once threatened to break him now sustains him, a constant reminder that endurance, alignment, and presence are the true measures of mastery. The pressure of silence has been endured, the ego has been tempered, and now the warrior is ready to walk a path without markers, guided only by presence and the inner compass of aligned spirit. The path ahead offers no signs, no maps, no guarantees, only the demands of the unseen journey and the quiet guidance of the spirit. Dawn arrives with no ceremony. Mist drifts over the mountains like a hesitant breath. The warrior steps forward, scabbard empty, mind alert, body unhurried. No audience awaits him, no applause, no map. Only the road, winding and uncertain, stretching into the distance, as indifferent as the sky. This is the path without markers. Ancient Stoics spoke of walking the road, regardless of outcome. Purpose is not promised. It is discovered, if at all, by those who move with presence rather than expectation. Modern psychology calls this intrinsic motivation, action driven by internal alignment rather than reward. The warrior is learning that every step, repeated with attention, is itself a measure of mastery. Fear returns, though transformed. It is no longer the fear of insignificance. It is the fear of returning to comfort, of surrendering the discipline that has begun to define him. The body remembers ease, the mind craves distraction. And yet, every step along the fogged ridge reminds him that presence is forged in resistance. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Repetition, without guarantee, is the forge of the spirit. The mentor walks alongside, though at a distance. He does not point the way, does not offer guidance. Instead, he observes, allowing the warrior to feel the weight of each choice, each movement, each inhale. The silent presence of one who has mastered this path reinforces what words cannot. Alignment is stronger than instruction. The world is stripped of markers. No milestones, no recognition, no validation, only rhythm, only motion. The warrior's steps are deliberate. Each footfall, each shift of weight is a meditation in action. Neuroscience today would call this habit formation and neuroplasticity in motion. The repeated mindful act strengthens the pathways of focus and attention. The mind, once scattered in search of meaning, begins to inhabit itself fully. As he moves, he notices subtle shifts. His breath steadies. His thoughts, once restless, now flow with clarity. Presence deepens. Discipline ceases to be a practice. It becomes identity. The fear of uncertainty is replaced with the quiet thrill of awareness. The path may have no visible markers, but the warrior senses its contours through instinct, attention, and alignment of spirit. The silence that once tormented him no longer threatens. Instead, it steadies. It becomes a companion, a metronome of awareness that guides him when the mind would falter. The absence of external reward, the lack of confirmation, is no longer an obstacle. It is the canvas upon which mastery paints itself, invisible but undeniable. At noon, he pauses on a ridge, gazing at the valley below. Mist curls around rocks and trees like smoke, shifting with no predictable pattern. He feels the rhythm of the world, the constant impermanence. The path is not linear. Purpose is not a destination. He understands at a visceral level that movement itself. Each step grounded, each breath present, is the measure of alignment. The warrior walks without markers, guided by presence, discipline, and the inner compass of spirit. In time, this invisible path will reveal its deepest lesson. Mastery is not discovered, it is lived moment by moment, step by step. The sun sinks low, gilding the mist in hues of amber and grey. The warrior continues along the ridge, each step deliberate, each breath measured. The path offers no markers, no confirmation, no reward, and yet he walks, because walking itself has become the purpose. Modern research in psychology calls this intrinsic motivation, but the wisdom is ancient. Mastery emerges when action is divorced from expectation. The fear of returning to comfort still whispers, subtle but insistent. It tempts him with shortcuts, with old habits, with the ease of distraction. Yet the warrior now perceives it for what it is: a test, a mirror, a tool. Each hesitation, each flutter of doubt becomes an opportunity to anchor presence more deeply, to deepen the rhythm of discipline, to refine the integration of mind, body, and spirit. The mentor's voice finally enters, not as instruction, but as reflection. The path reveals itself only when you stop asking why. Focus on how. Presence is the compass. Alignment is the direction. Fear will guide you if you learn to listen. The words are not a map, they are a lens, a framework for perception. The warrior internalizes them, noticing how the weight of each step, each inhalation, each deliberate motion forms a rhythm that steadies both body and mind. As dusk falls, he encounters a narrow ledge, slick with dew. The wind presses against him. One misstep could undo all his effort. Yet there is no panic. Each movement is a meditation, each breath measured, each muscle attuned. The mind, once scattered, now observes without interference. The body, once restless, now responds with fluid precision. The path may be invisible, but he senses it in his very bones. Here, the warrior experiences a subtle but profound shift. Purpose is no longer a distant goal. It is not found in applause, in praise, or in recognition. It is born in the alignment of action and presence. Discipline is no longer a series of acts. It is identity itself. Fear, once an adversary, has become a tool for heightened awareness. The silence that pressed upon him now steadies him. Each step, each breath, each heartbeat is evidence of mastery emerging from within. Night descends, soft and complete. Stars pierce the sky, indifferent to human effort, yet illuminating the contours of the world. The warrior pauses, reflecting on the journey thus far. The mentor remains in shadow, unseen, a quiet reminder that guidance is not always verbal, that mastery often arises through observation, endurance, and alignment rather than instruction. By the close of this chapter, the path is no longer defined by markers or milestones. The journey has become the teacher. The warrior has stopped asking why and has begun asking how. Presence has matured. Discipline has become inseparable from self. The path is invisible yet palpable. Purpose is no longer a destination. It is the act of walking itself, deliberate, attentive, alive. The warrior has learned that the unseen path is not a void. It is the crucible in which presence, discipline, and spirit converge. In the final stage, the warrior will confront the last lesson, the forging of inner mastery, where purpose is no longer sought, but fully embodied. Dawn arrives in silence. The mountains are still, the mist retreating slowly to reveal the contours of the valley below. The warrior rises, but this time, the motion is different. There is no agitation, no searching. The scabbard remains empty, yet he carries an invisible weight, one of quiet confidence, of presence, of alignment. He moves not to achieve, not to be seen, but because movement itself is now purpose. The journey has taught him that mastery is never proclaimed. There is no ceremony, no applause, no crowning moment. True transformation completes quietly, almost imperceptibly. Ancient texts called this state shugyo, the forging of the spirit through discipline, repetition, and endurance. Modern psychology, in its own terms, recognizes the same principle. Intrinsic growth occurs not in reward or recognition, but in sustained, deliberate practice over time. The warrior walks through the training hall, now familiar in every shadow, every texture. The air smells of polished wood and faint incense. He notices details that once escaped him: the curve of the tatami, the uneven grain of the sword's hilt, the soft echo of wind through bamboo. Presence sharpens perception. Discipline, now internalized, has become identity. Each step, each breath, each gesture carries the imprint of transformation. Ego, once restless and loud, has fallen silent. It no longer demands recognition, nor does it fret over insignificance. Strength is no longer measured by conflict or conquest, but by composure, by internal order, by the seamless integration of mind, body, and spirit. The mentor watches from the periphery, finally stepping back, as all true guides eventually do. Mastery, they know, is never handed down. It must be claimed moment by moment through experience. The silence is profound, but no longer oppressive. It steadies him, reminds him of the lessons learned in the empty scabbard, in the weight of silence, in the path without markers. Each challenge, each doubt, each step without visible reward has forged him into something unshakable. The body moves with economy, the mind with clarity, the spirit with quiet confidence. Presence is no longer a practice, it is essence. Night falls, and stars pierce the sky like faint embers. The warrior sits alone on a ridge, gazing at the vastness below. He feels no need to measure achievement, no desire to claim mastery. He understands something profound. Purpose is not something to find or demand. It emerges naturally when the ego no longer obstructs action, when discipline has become identity, when presence guides every step. The system has done its work, invisibly, with patience, with pressure, and with silence. The first layer of fear surfaces, but it dissolves instantly. There is no attachment, no desire, no demand, only awareness, only stillness, only movement as itself, complete, purposeful, alive. The transformation is not announced, it does not shout. Yet it is undeniable. The warrior has become the embodiment of what he once sought externally: purpose, strength, and mastery. The culmination is quiet, invisible, yet complete. the spirit integrated, the presence undeniable. Soon, this integration will be fully realized, and the warrior will step beyond seeking, beyond struggle, to become purpose itself. The night deepens. A faint wind brushes across the ridge, carrying the scent of pine and cold earth. The warrior breathes slowly, deliberately, letting the rhythm of his body and mind synchronize with the stillness around him. There is no hurry, no striving, no external measure of achievement. Every step, every movement, every thought now flows from the integration of spirit, mind, and body. This is mastery lived, not announced. The mentor, once a constant presence, now recedes entirely. True guidance, he knows, is revealed in absence. By stepping back, the mentor allows the warrior to inhabit the lessons fully, no longer reliant on instruction or validation. The warrior moves with complete alignment. Strength no longer seeks conflict. Discipline no longer demands reward. Ego, which once cried for recognition, has dissolved into quiet composure. Modern psychology affirms what ancient wisdom always taught. Meaning does not appear in flashes of inspiration or applause. It emerges through sustained practice, through repeated alignment with values, through patient endurance of challenges that offer no immediate reward. The warrior now understands that the lack of purpose he once feared was never punishment. It was preparation. The system withheld clarity not to break him, but to forge him. He rises, walking through the hall once more. Each motion is precise yet effortless. Each breath is measured yet natural. Presence flows through him like water through stone, shaping every action, every decision, every perception. The silence that once tormented him now sustains him, steady and constant. Fear has become a subtle guide, revealing where attachment remains, where presence can deepen. As dawn creeps over the mountains, painting the mist in soft gold, the warrior pauses on a ridge. The world remains vast, indifferent, and unpredictable. Yet he is unshaken. He does not need external purpose to move. Movement itself has become purpose. Presence has become identity. Discipline has become life. He understands now that the ultimate mastery is not in conquering the world, but in mastering oneself. The transformation is complete, though no one will announce it. There is no grand ceremony, no accolades, no testament to mark the achievement. The warrior does not find purpose, he becomes it. In the quiet integration of mind, body, and spirit, the ego has been tempered, strength has been refined, and presence has been fully realized. The lessons of the journey are clear. Absence is not punishment. Silence is not void. Discipline without recognition shapes the spirit more than applause ever could. Purpose is the natural byproduct of presence, alignment, and the surrender of ego. The warrior has stepped through every trial, endured every unseen pressure, and emerged whole, steady, and fully awake. What felt like a lack of purpose was the ancient system removing his ego so that true mastery could emerge.